People are boycotting Bayonetta 3, but why? Well, for those who don't know already, Bayonetta 3 is coming out later this month, and many were surprised to see Bayonetta being recasted by someone else. Hellena Taylor, the original voice actor for Bayonetta since the beginning, recently voiced this situation on Twitter, explaining that this was because her capabilities and skills were disrespected. So what happened? Who's responsible? How is this going to impact the sales of Bayonetta 3? And more importantly, how does this controversy ultimately impact the jobs of many voice actors and how corporations handle them? Let's break it down. But first, subscribe. It only takes 2 seconds and you can always change your mind later. Anyways, so Hellena Taylor goes in depth on the situation between Hideki Kamiya, the creator of Bayonetta, and her offer, where Bayonetta as a franchise has made millions, approximately 450 million, not including merchandise, but can only come to agreement of $4,000 US, which is pennies in comparison. And for someone as iconic as Bayonetta, where Hellena Taylor basically built up the persona of Bayonetta since the beginning with her 7+ years of training experience as a voice actor, the math doesn't seem to be adding up. Not to mention that Platinum put out a statement that she couldn't reprise the role due to overlapping circumstances, which is a PR stunt that was further from the truth. She knows that this is a clear violation of her NDA, but she has absolutely nothing to lose aside from standing up for herself, and rightfully so, especially with how voice actors nowadays are handled by large industries. You can tell how saddened she is by the inflection in her voice and the sorrow in her eyes, and it's absolutely disheartening and has managed to get everyone's attention, including Hideki, where he's actually gone on a rampage with just blocking everyone on Twitter, which really doesn't help the situation. But you know what else doesn't help the situation? Hellena Taylor's suggestion of boycotting Bayonetta 3. Why is that? Because pitting talent versus talent against each other is not the reasonable solution, especially when the fault is actually the true fat cats on top, Nintendo and SEGA. What do I mean by that? Well, despite the misplaced blame, it actually is on the corporations that control the monetization of the talent, which is what Hideki, Platinum Games, and Miss Taylor fall under. It's very suspicious that they presented $4,000 US on the final offer, almost as if the corporation had already had plans of getting rid of her. And honestly, I have every reason to believe it's on SEGA's hand more than Nintendo, which is the reason why I bring it up on this channel. People tend to forget that Bayonetta is ultimately SEGA's property. Nintendo is basically paying permission to publish said property, and we all know that Nintendo is enough of a corporation to have funds, even if the sales don't do so well. It's also the reason why the sequel to the first game was ever achieved. Meanwhile, SEGA has had more of a history with rush games, poor management, downsizing, underpaying talent, and the list goes on. And with their focus on the Sonic franchise as of late, I wouldn't be surprised of how much they are reallocating to it, or if they just wanted a younger talent to reprise the role of Bayonetta. But that's just speculation. Furthermore, ever since this controversy, sales at least on Amazon for the game have absolutely skyrocketed, making it into the top 40, which is the opposite of what boycotting should do. Though I do feel for Hellena Taylor, as her devotion and parallels to the character both stand up for who are less fortunate. And to be quite honest, this motto and confidence is why I am a fan of the franchise, as many of you guys have guessed with how much I bring the character up. Her confidence inspires me in my everyday life, along with many other communities such as women, the LGBTQ+, and several other gaming niches, so I can only hope that these large industries can give more respect to how much voice actors can make or break characters, and how they serve to immerse the persona behind those characters. These voice actors can't keep undergoing these kinds of treatment. Hellena deserves compensation, maybe not through boycotting against the game, but a boycott towards the corporations pulling the strings, or at least have more open communication if they wanted to not have her in the final game. So instead, consider pushing the subscribe button to stay informed on what happens next. Mr. Bane out.